Yeah.
And so we're sort of like, our channel's meant to help them find new avenues to do this.
New markets.
And we actually have a lady from Korea. She came here to Tampa.
Okay.
And we're helping her set up an apartment right now.
Huh.
So for those people,
Okay.
you know, if you have anything for them, so operating in America,
Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is, one of the things you can do is research what the political party sentiment is, right? Because that's what's ultimately gonna, right?
Yeah.
So for us, technically, Hillsborough County, the county that we're in, has a 7-day minimum requirement.
Oh, okay.
But it's like rarely talked about. If you Google it, you have to go through like 5 links to even find that regulation. It's not broadcasted or advertised anywhere,
That's kind of what
and it's not really enforced because there are hundreds of Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Because the only time they would have an issue or they would like enforce that on you would be like if you're reported.
Yeah.
And then, well, especially multiple reports, like then they're gonna enforce like, hey, take this off, or if you continue hosting, it'll be like $1,000 a day fine. They could do that. But otherwise, currently, because of our governor, Ron DeSantis, I recently read passed a regulation, cities and counties in Florida, and don't quote me on this, I may be slightly off, but they cannot pass laws directed only at STRs unless those laws also apply to other rentals.
Interesting.
So that
big.
Yes, because that makes it so that these cities and counties who maybe have a sentiment of like anti-Airbnb, they cannot target Airbnbs. So within the current administration, it's like, okay, they won't allow you to target Airbnbs. You want to pass a law, pass one that applies to all rentals. And that makes it an even playing field, because like, why is there such an anti-Airbnb sentiment? Because one thing I've discussed with a lot of my friends is people say like it's affecting the real estate market. People can't afford homes because everybody's buying Airbnbs and putting them up. That's not what's really affecting the homes, because who's buying Airbnbs? Single individuals like us, right? Buying 1-2 properties at a time, and then waiting another year to buy more. BlackRock and investment firms like that are buying thousands, trillion-dollar corporations that can afford to outbid everyone. And then what they're doing is they're buying thousands of them and then putting them all up for rent, long-term rent. So people are like, oh, but they're helping the rental market. But people don't realize, and this is, I think everybody should know this, should understand this, if this trend continues, we will live in a world where our kids won't have any homes to buy. Home ownership will be a thing of the past. Now you will have to pay corporations rent for the duration of your lifetime. So market research is big for whoever's looking. Look at your government sentiment. You know, in America, it's quite polarized. So if you go into a red state, for example, they're very anti-government, anti-legislation. So like, they're all about less government. So some of the best markets are the blue markets. You got the New Yorks, the Austins, the Californias, Tampas, Orlando, all that. But they are also at a higher chance of having those types of regulations that could get your whole business shut down. You go into some other some other cities or counties, the sentiment there is like, no, they like Airbnbs. And the likelihood of those cities getting some kind of a regulation are low. So maybe that's where you want to go if you want to safeguard against a legislation shutting you down. If you can afford multiple listings, diversify. Get homes in different places. So if your one place gets kaput, you have another thing running until you can find a solution for this one. The other solution is do your numbers, your analysis, before, whether this property will make sense or not. Do that based on long-term renting numbers. So don't do your math, because Airbnb is best case scenario. Airbnb is the most lucrative, right? Based on between long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, and short-term rentals. Short-term makes the most money. So you can't do your numbers based on short-term rentals because then a legislation comes through, or STR is just not working in that area.
Yeah.
Then you're screwed because you needed this to make it break even,
Yeah.
and you're getting this. But if you aim for this, which is the long-term rental, the profit margins on long-term rentals are usually in America like anywhere from $300 to $500 after paying your mortgage and your electricity and all that. So if you're shooting for just a $500 profit margin and your numbers make sense for this investment to be a lucrative investment, and then you do midterm rental or short-term rental, you're going to be in a better position. And so if a law passes that bans Airbnbs, well, guess what? You already did your numbers based on midterm and long-term rentals. So you would have an easier time going back to maybe go with the traveling nurses market, or business executives who want to move and stay for like 2 to 3 months at a time. Those types of places. So that's a big one. So diversification can work in one of two ways, which is location diversification, and then duration of the list, the bookings that you're going for. Diversifying that too. Maybe get one property that works for short term, one property that's more in the midterm rental market. One of the books that I was reading, that they stated like, you're going to pay top dollar to get into a market like Tampa, for example. But then there might be another city that has a factory.
Yeah.
Or that has 3 major hospitals in a very close area. So those people are going to need those midterm housing. Correct. Every time there's a factory, it brings thousands of jobs.
Yes.
Because like men, women work there, then they have their significant others, they need teachers for the kids, et cetera, et cetera. So if you can find these niche markets that you could pay little money and get more return versus Tampa, well, you might be looking at a $400,000 investment, but you go somewhere Midwest that has a factory, that there's still a market, maybe not for STRs, but MTRs.
Yeah.
And your barrier for entry is much lower. Say you can get a house for $200. Well, guess what? That's where you need to go.
Yeah.
Right? So you're also competing against less. There must be 1,000 Airbnbs in Tampa. I don't know, you go somewhere in Wisconsin, you might have 50. Yeah, so your competition's less. So you don't have to reduce your prices as much to compete.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess those would be my 2 cents.